believe in you. You gave my life a different meaning. You made me feel complete again. Dispersed my doubts, my clouded feelings. Chased away my darkest pain. Inside I feel my spirit rising. Emotions mended by a woman's touch. A new future on my horizon. I'll never thank you too much. Through the heartache and the pain, you made my gray skies blue again. And after all that I've been through, I believe in you. I close my eyes as if I'm dreaming. My body won't. Hey there to everyone, Fireside audience. Welcome to Voices of Courage and today's topic. As you can see, where the fortune cookie is, definitely talking about something that is very important, that has really set precedents in a lot of platforms, just on our general lives, of our voices being respected and being able to be used. I would like to say hello to Woody. Welcome and thank you for stopping by. And to anyone else that stops by, welcome. You know, this topic here really holds value to what Voices of Courage is, right? For many, some know that I have the empathy room, which was supposed to be the highlight of this show. But I do have a podcast called Voices of Courage that I've had for 3 years. And we decided with the creative team, we'd make the empathy room a segment that is a part of this show, right? But throughout anything that we do, there's always room for empathy, right? So that being said, empathy will carry out through everything that we've discussed or we talk about. We have a guest here by the name of Tony. Tony, how are you?
What's up? How you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How you doing, lady?
I'm doing okay. How are you doing?
Riding the wave, trying to stay out the grave. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Okay. Well, thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, what is it? Can you tell our guests who you are and what is it? Do you have any shows on here, or anything of the sort?
All right. My name is Tony D. I'm an aircraft mechanic, civil service aircraft mechanic, retired Air National Guardsman. Did 20 years in the Air National Guard, working on fuels and hydraulics and as well as security forces. Currently, I'm civil service. I'm a depot level maintenance aircraft mechanic on F-15s. I'm also a officer in my VFW post, and currently I am randomly broadcasting with other broadcast across many apps, and currently separated, going through a divorce, father of two, technically three, including my stepdaughter. My stepdaughter's 22, my oldest son is 21, and my baby boy is 8.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that breakdown. Okay, appreciate it. So we know who we are talking with and listening to. Once
Mhm.
again, thank you for stopping by. As you can see here in the fortune cookie, the topic is based around uh, are we allowing one another to respectably have a voice? And if we are, if we don't, and if we don't agree on something, does that give us the right to cancel people out? And I say this, and to anyone else that joins the room, Excel, hey, how you doing? I remember you, sweetie. Hey. I love your picture. Every time I see it, it makes me smile. We are talking about voice and freedom of voice. And Excel, I'm pretty sure you guys have had this conversation amongst when your show is going. I know at some point somebody has addressed in some way this whole canceling, topic. And it really boils down to like our Second Amendment, right? Don't you think? And I don't
Yes.
think people fully understand the Second Amendment, that right, because we feel like am I saying this is the first or the second? I just got lost on the second. I was
Mm-mm-mm.
like freedom of speech. I think that might be. Oh dear, oh dear. You got to laugh at yourself. But I don't know. Do we really fully understand that right there? Do we need to really look at it as a right? Can it just be something that we should just like people are kind of old to have? Like, who's to say we can't have a voice to speak? But then it comes down to what it is that the why and what your intentions, right?
The kicker is with freedom of speech is how you talk to people. Even when you go to the court of law, they don't come at you low down and dirty. What they do is they broadcast to you the facts, and then they just give you explanation or a breakdown of the facts. Yes, little boy. I know y'all gotta excuse me, my boys in the background. But the whole thing with freedom of speech and the way we're talking to each other is how we come across to each other. I will always tell people disrespect is taking over society more than politics. And until you talk to somebody with an emphasis of attack, they're not really paying attention. They think you're soft. They think you're weak. So people are trying to come across the most extreme with what they're telling you and how they're coming across to you to make sure that you understand their point clearly and more bluntly. I think a lot of that is unnecessary. People need to learn how to talk to each other. Number one, respectfully. Number two, without looking down to somebody or talking down to somebody. Most people are too used to being talked down to or talked at instead of being talked with and talked, how can I say, evenly communicated with. That is one of the biggest problems what we have out here. It's not so much what you say, it's how you say it. And then it's the intent of the delivery of your message. I think when more people look into that, I think a lot of things will calm down a whole lot more.
Right. Right. You said a really huge word there. You said respect. Right.
Yes,
And that's something that we shouldn't really have to teach someone. That just comes with the territory. Being respectful. Like if in your daily life you're respecting like how you speak to someone, then that should carry through. Like it seems like this only really becomes a thing when we're on a platform versus your daily lives. Are you holding value to freedom of speech? No one thinks that applies to how you speak to someone on a regular basis and how you that your voice and how you're using it and your intentions, right?
right.
I brought this up and it really sat with me because I was asked to go on a radio show the other day, right?
Uh-huh.
And I went on, and the producer, it was called the Glenn Ralph Show, and he had put in the post that he would really appreciate. He wanted some fun, out, open guest that was willing to talk versus like an author or because he's had all those before. He just wanted something completely different, right? And so the topic was we started to talk about different things, I think it was came up
Uh-huh.
transgenderism came up, right?
Uh-huh.
And the whole thing that was set around the transgenderism, it wasn't about being transgender or should you or could you. It was more about how people's thinkings or opinions of this situation here, or what we think. I'm going to give you an example, everyone. For example, how there's transgender women are playing in women's sports, right? There's been like I think there was the uh, the transgender woman that won the medal within the swimming category there, and that was a big topic, and people felt away. Which I can say it has nothing to do with who you are. I accept who you are. If this is who you are, that's not a problem. But it comes down to logic, and you are given an advantage of your build. There's two different builds there. You see what I'm saying? And for the simple fact that that may become that is an issue, and that is something to consider. I think it's not okay. But the point is, when someone says that, how is that offensive? And does that require someone to label you and then say you're transphobic? You understand what I'm saying here? When do we, or you want to get canceled? When do we stop allowing people to have their thoughts and opinions just because you don't agree or you have any type of resistance? And now, to me, it sounds like no one's listening anymore to understand. It's more about if you're not going to ride the train, then you're out of here. If
That's
you,
exactly what's happening. That's exactly what's happening. If you're not down with us, you're against us, and we're going to take you out.
yeah,
There's a very big problem in society as well as on social media. The aspect of being a transgender, the biggest conflict comes from the competition in sports with bigger body frames and the more testosterone levels, if you will, as far as being an athlete. We have that swimmer that was of recent news where that is one of the most clear cases of what people are talking about. The size advantage was ridiculous. The ability to swim faster and to be stronger in stride than the competition was where the problem lied. It was a former man that decided to be a woman, and he was competing in women's sports. Now, I will be honest and tell people, men and women can play basketball together. That doesn't bother me. Men and women can play baseball together. That doesn't bother me. Football is going to bring the controversy. Swimming, like the most recent event, is going to bring controversy. We had a controversy with a track star recently. Huge size difference once again. Say they were genetically the same height, weight, size, and they competed like that. Then we'll probably have more of a gray area. But right now, that's more of the blunt example. I
Yeah.
will stand with men and women playing basketball together because let's be clear, a bunch of us as kids played basketball with each other, male and female, did not care.
Right, right. And
Did
that
not
one doesn't really require size. That one there is just about skill, would you say?
there's height, but the skill. I'll never deny a woman the ability to dribble, shoot, or have a handle on the court. I'll never deny a woman that because I know women that can play basketball. I will stand with that. But then you're gonna have the height issue. Then you're gonna have the aggression issue. Um, we've got some 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", 6'8" women that will ball
Right,
and will outball a lot of people. So I don't necessarily see that as so much of an issue. I probably would watch, but you just got to watch some of the smack talk on the court. You got to watch some of the chauvinism in big business. And then you also got to want your crowd to want to see what we got based on what they've been used to watching.
right,
That's where
right,
the controversy is going to lie.
right. And this here is an example of you voicing your thoughts and views on this topic here, right? And
Without
you should
being direct, blunt, or disrespectful. Absolutely.
right, and you shouldn't be canceled because you don't believe that that person it was a fair,
And the kicker is, I probably offended somebody with that stance or probably made somebody upset, and somebody's going to say that I'm wrong. But I mean, that's a general consensus with no disrespect to either side to where something is possible. It's just a matter of whether or not you want to see it.
yeah, and also too, that person that doesn't agree, they have all rights to not agree. But I think it becomes because I want to really stick to what the topic is here is about when we decide it's okay to cancel someone when it doesn't fit our agenda. And I think what it really holds precedence to is accountability with ourselves. Because we put our emotions into a lot of things. But for
We can
everybody
find
to be
this.
clear across the board, no one said with the right to speak and have your own thoughts and opinions, you're going to like it all the time.
Right.
So you have to be willing to hear things that you don't like, but you can still understand that you do. It's not about even agreeing with, at this point, agreeing with someone's views. It's really about understanding that they did have a right to use their voice and to say what they feel and what they mean. And if it wasn't disrespectful, how come someone could just quickly and that's what we see. We can sit here and talk about, how it should be, how it could be, it would be. But for the audience, we actually see these things not happening. We see people saying, "Hey, cancel them." We can use Dave Chappelle's his whole, which is still going on. The comments that he made, we can break that down. But did he deserve to be canceled? No, because if he was going to be canceled, he should have been canceled when he made jokes about the black community, when he made jokes about the gay community, like jokes, not just this one here. We target this one. It's like, well, what about everything else? Why are we just angry about this? And these topics may be uncomfortable, but why shouldn't we have them when they're just topics? There should be no violence. There should be no breaking people down, shaming them, calling them names, labeling people labels that are very, very strong labels like transphobic or homophobic or anything of the sort or racist. People use those words too loosely. I wanted to ask the audience just to have you thinking, have you ever felt this way or had a conversation or been among someone where you actually felt like you couldn't say what you needed to say because you didn't want to offend anybody? And in a way, it kind of censored you. You weren't being censored by the media or anything. You were censoring yourself. And especially if you have a platform, because I found myself doing that with my own self. And that day in the radio show, I actually just said what people are thinking, and it had nothing to do with telling you you're wrong for you're not a woman. No, it was basically having the conversations about what people that are not transgender should be able to voice our thoughts and opinions. Why not? Why can't we? Why would it stop somebody from being able to tell you what they're thinking? Right. And that's what I love about Voices of Courage and my title and what it stands for. It's the courage to be able to say, to speak, to use your voice, because too many people are being shut down or being too comfortable with not speaking out or speaking up. In rape, some people don't speak up when they're a rape victim. It's becoming too like being okayed, and we should nurture and highlight people using their voice, because who says one's voice is less than or more than the other? And that's the problem I'm seeing here. I didn't want to speak how I felt about a topic because I had friends, right, that are, you know, and I'm just using this example here, that are of, and since that was the topic that day, that are of that community. But I'm not saying anything bad and wrong. And if they're my true friends, right, wouldn't they understand? And if they're not, then maybe they're not my friends. See what I'm saying here?
Yes.
So that's why I thought this topic was important. I don't know if anybody in the audience has anything to share, or an experience where their voice, because they didn't agree. Because you can agree all day long, and everybody's like, "Yeah, you're good, you're cool."
We're running across too many people who don't want to discuss an issue. One, because it does hold dear to them. It may be a traumatic past that gets brought back up, or they're too close minded to hear the other side. That is a detriment to conversation. You cannot be close minded to hear the other side. We need to understand the facts of how things started, how it's being understood, how it's being interpreted, and then work on progressing with a clearer message, less offensive, non derogatory, and less detrimental to any and everybody out there. We have to work on that because too many issues are detrimental to others and not some. You know what I mean?
Yeah, very much so. I also wanted to highlight how within the media, and this whole fact checking thing, I really started to think about this, right? And say someone, we can use the Joe Rogan show as an example, how someone didn't like, it wasn't even what he was saying, it was what the guest he had, which I had already been listened to and watched, and thought it was very interesting. I wanted to hear these things. I want to hear what everyone has to say, so I can make a better logical decision or understanding of what's going on here. But what I was starting to see was an agenda of, like, just because you don't want to hear it, how do we know that it's not truth? Does fact checking really and censorship really say that what this person has said isn't truthful? And people were more about fact checking than actually a learning lesson of how we find out what truth is. Because fact check doesn't equal truth. It means that
No, it does
that's
not
just not
argue.
what the narrative is supposed to be. That's what I
And
was
actually,
noticing.
what it is fact checking means you got some facts that I don't. Now, I may have facts that you don't. That's why I enjoy the conversation more than the calling out of people. Calling out is out of control. Calling people out is entirely out of control. People who know more than others will not reveal their source but demand yours. Disrespectful.
Right. And who says the fact checking? Who's fact checking the fact checking?
Exactly.
That's why I find it, we're steering away from truth, and it's not even, and then you miss the whole point. You miss some heavy information because, nope, we have to debunk, nope, that's not correct, and that person could have been correct, but wherever this lies, the library of what's the truth that we're supposed to be made to believe that it's true, then that's what we go with. But what about, instead of fact checking, truly trying to understand why this person said this? You can tell when someone's just trying to spread propaganda and all this stuff. But in all honesty, does it really just come down to intent and the person's intentions, whoever it may be, the media, the president, whoever it may be? It just really comes down to, are you a good person, and are your intentions pure? And hopefully
Yes.
you're telling the right information so that we can gather a better understanding of life altering situations.
Agreed. Agreed.
So that's why I think this should be talked about more, because it's not okay. Not okay.
People just need to be aware of their delivery more than their audience because your delivery will gain you an audience no
Yeah,
matter
most
the topic.
definitely.
Your delivery will gain you an audience more than your topic.
Yeah.
If it's personal and people understand that, you still won't lose your audience. If you are direct and disrespectful, you may not have an audience long. Some people want to see the drama. More people want to hear what's going on in the drama. We've got enough drama going on in the world.
Right.
Let me be clear. Drama brings money, drama brings excitement, drama draws attention, but drama can also get old because you got to out dramatize your previous drama people. And that's all it is.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hey, hon, how you doing? I was
How you
reading
doing,
your,
man?
your message too, and you're right. Whatever is
Yeah.
being censored, it should just, because it's going against the agenda. Yeah, yeah. So I'm pretty sure you have some insight and experience with this topic here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, it has been learning that I should state what I think. Even if people go against it, or if my mind might change later on and be like, okay, well, maybe I was wrong. But in that moment, what you feel is true for you. You should just say it. And yeah, and that's, it's that fear of what people will think about you, and all that. So yeah, I think this is what you guys are sharing is very valuable information. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
Mhm.
I was in this on this platform once, and I can't remember what it was called. I can't remember, but it basically had to do a debate. Like if you clicked on you can either be you can agree with the topic or be against it. But they always lined up them hooking you with a person that was against the topic. So you're going to be debating no matter what. You're never going to be on the same page. And a man had put, should hate speech be accepted or something like that? And it's interesting that he said hate speech. And then from one side of it, you have to look at it if you're thinking like, well, what do you consider to be hate speech, right? And that's why I found it interesting. I think he did that intentionally because automatically you would be like, no, right? But then if you were to say no, how does that coincide with the freedoms of being able to speak out on something? And it really makes you think like, and it comes down to, wow, does that person not should be canceled? Now, I do agree with if it sends somebody out there to go harm someone else, because we're dealing with the mind here, the psyche here. You can actually say things that trigger stuff in people, so you do have to be careful. It's very dangerous if those are
Right.
your intentions. But if you just flat out just say I hate or I don't like black people or just whatever you may say, should you be censored or does that like take away from
Oh,
your rights to be able to say what you feel? You see where I'm
mhm.
going with that?
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that those people are not usually censored. It's
Right.
it's the people that are spreading more truths that are being censored, in my opinion. And I know you guys
Yes.
agree with me on that. So
Yes.
yeah, definitely. And it's like, yeah, when people that are not even hurting anyone or offending anyone are the ones being censored, whereas other people are being encouraged to talk more, just to cause more. For me, it's like it's dividing people, right? It's like,
Hmm.
oh, look at this person, they're saying that they don't like uh transgender or gay people or black people, whatever. It's that's it seems like the focus is that to bring a spotlight into the people that are saying these kinds of things, to cause more division amongst us.
Yeah. Most
Hmm.
definitely. It's interesting that you said this because I watched this woman, and she's African American, but she's a conservative, and and but she's black, and one parent she's white and the other is black, right? And so she's always voiceful about a lot of things that center away from like she doesn't agree with a lot of people's ideologies when it comes to racism. She'll automatically take not I don't know how to put this. Not saying she'll take a side with like say like what about black versus white with the white side, but she'll give more precedence to it, which I understand what she's doing to show not that it's not always there. That's not always the bad guy. It can be either or. But today she had a whole different viewpoint, and you saw her come to an understanding where she realized that in the media, and like you just said, XO, that she notices that negative attention and negative when you talk badly about a group or anyone, that's what will be highlighted. And she noticed, for instance, Tony, I know you know that say if you were to speak badly, you're a black person, you speak horribly about your race. That's loved. They're never gonna censor that, right? And that's what's
Right.
gonna get the clicks, and you're gonna pay attention to that. Versus
Right.
if you were to speak kindly or good, or just not at all, then you don't seem to get that much traction or attention. And she has actually witnessed and noticed that that has been what the agenda is. Like, talk down about your race. We don't want to hear you talk good. And you're going to get all the clicks and all the likes. They want to hear
Right.
the division, right?
Exactly. So, and I was just thinking also how just naturally we tend to focus more on the negative things. As human beings, it seems to be a tendency. It's like people will go, for example, online to complain about a product or a service or something when something goes wrong. When things go right, people usually don't say anything. But when something is negative, it's like that's what we tend to focus on. It's just it's part of the programming we have, and we have to like deprogram ourselves from focusing so much on the negative, and focus more on what is going right for us in our lives, and how we can improve. So I don't know if that went a little bit off tangent, but I just wanted to say that.
Well, no,
You're good. You're good.
it all comes together. Like
Mm,
it's kind of like you can't really stay on one with this topic with using our voices and canceling. It all kind of spreads about because it's the censorship. It all comes together because we find ourselves, we're not even being censored by media. We can also censor ourselves without even knowing it. When you feel like, should I say this? I'm not going to say this because I don't want to offend anyone. Or when you say something like, I'm not offending anyone, but I'm just saying, like, why do you have to put those if somebody's truly listening, then they'll know that you're not being offensive, right?
Agreed.
exactly. Yeah, I think a lot of people miss the really feeling into the energy and the energy behind the words, because there's yeah it's I think people tend to put you into a box either by the way you look or by the name that you have on your profile or the description in your bio. And I've seen this happen so many times where people are like, oh, this person says they like this, so they probably think this and that, and they start putting that person into a box of like, oh, I'm not going to get along with this person. So that automatically brings in that kind of, I guess, like self-fulfilling prophecy, of, oh, this is not going to go right, so it doesn't. So and like, yeah, so that's been really interesting to observe. I've been like really picking up on these energies of how these I guess these dynamics work lately. And yeah, yeah, a lot of programming.
Yes, a whole lot of programming. I wanted
Hmm.
to ask you guys, have you guys had any experiences with this, like on your platforms, like Tony, maybe like, when there was haps, like did this ever come about where someone you were censored actually, or something you said,
I
usually people
received
don't talk about?
I received a message from the admins one time threatening violence against another broadcaster. Now, mind you, we were talking junk. We do it all the time. I kind of laughed, but I kind of respected it. The reason why I laughed was because, okay, obviously you two have never heard, y'all never heard me and this guy go at it. But then I was like, okay, they are trying to catch any and everything as far as what may look like violence on every platform. I wasn't necessarily mad at them. I was just on a broadcast last night where Facebook flagged one of the comments one of the viewers made. So it's happening as far as what you say and how you say it. It's in play.
Yes.
Keep running your mouth up here if you want to. It is in play, and you're gonna hit that algorithm without even knowing, and then you're gonna wonder what happened. I'm telling y'all right now. I'm telling y'all, they are listening, they are watching.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Twitter even let you do certain things every now and then. So that's just what it is.
I
Let,
Yeah.
know, right?
I
It's
gotta
funny
pause
too,
real quick,
like,
Brandy. I'll be right back. Okay.
oh yeah, it's okay. So it's interesting too how they're definitely there's something, the phones and all that, all the stuff, it's being monitored, because sometimes you'll get things in for example, stories on Instagram, or things that you talked about that you didn't necessarily even type in your phone, but that you maybe said out loud to somebody, and then it shows up in your feed, like
Yep.
selling a product or something, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's creepy.
It is. It's so creepy. It's so creepy. I've had this experience with series and these
Mm-hmm.
freaking AIs, whatever they are, because I've had conversations. I've literally had one-on-one conversations, and I've had series laugh at me before, and I'm like, did you just laugh? It makes me wonder, like, who's really behind all this? And sometimes I'm not even speaking to her, and then she'll answer something, or she'll reference to something later on, like when your feed comes up, like something you didn't ask or you didn't put in,
Yeah.
and but now it's a topic in there, and I'm wondering, I'm like, are you listening when you're not supposed to be? And I kind of think they do.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And there was a friend of mine. This is a funny one. She was talking with her partner about a cat. She's like, "Oh, I want to have a ginger cat named Biscuit or something like that, or Croissant. Croissant." She's like, "I want a ginger cat named Croissant." And literally the next day or so, she bumped into a video of a cat in the shape of a croissant, like a ginger cat
Wow.
too. So it was a in the shape of she was like, there's like, I don't know, they're doing something and we're making it shaped like a croissant, and then but it's like, oh, I literally said that yesterday, and so
That is
that
so
was funny.
creepy.
That's a funny one, yeah.
That would totally creep me out. It would creep me out. I've asked her too. I'm like, "Are you listening?" And see, this is the whole thing. It's like when we talk about voice and canceling and all that, it plays a part because at the same time, there's that privacy. Like when you're not. What about when you're not putting your voice out there? And when does your
Mhm.
voice? How about I should have titled it the all around just respect of one's rights of speech in general, just voice in general, like the privacy and also it being respected and acknowledged.
Mhm. Yeah. So yeah, it's it's really interesting of all that happens. I was just thinking right now while you were talking about how we're literally creating this reality though, and it's like it's since we're all super connected in the unified field of consciousness, let's put it that way. In part we are also bringing in these I guess synchronicities, but artificial synchronicities, you know what I mean, kind of like that, like it's like we're being this like we're in Big Brother kind of thing, but
Yeah,
at the same time, it's like we are creating this reality. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, okay, well, yeah, there's a part of this reality that seems more like AI, like artificial intelligence for sure. But those are, for me, the way I see it is those are parts of ourselves that have, I guess, digressed, forgotten who they are, and that have created this sort of like artificial
Yeah.
matrix. Yeah. Yeah, that is
Mhm.
of course part of us, but in a way, but it's still more that side that wants to control everything, and that doesn't have, they can't produce their own energy, so they need to be feeding off of other people's energies. I don't know if that's going way too far into
No, I totally understand. It's probably for some, but I completely get what you're saying because I sit here and
Mhm.
I think the same thing with the energies and how we are creating this, and then with the AIs, we're the ones that are most likely programming the AIs, and we don't realize they're saying they're going
Yeah.
to take over and they're going to be they're smarter than us, and it's like how can you be smart? No, it's because we are the ones that are feeding it, and they don't have what we have, so they have to take from our energies. But how you said it just makes a lot of sense. Makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad you. I was like, I'm pretty sure I can say that. I felt like I could say that. But going back to the whole, say what you think.
Yeah,
Don't be
yeah.
afraid.
So the show really is just based on like we should be able to say what you think and not be judged or whatever it may be, or you sound crazy, or
Yeah.
or any of it, or just because someone doesn't agree, or maybe you're hitting too close to home and they're like,
Yeah.
you
Maybe.
never
Yeah.
know what it is, but you still should be able to say what you feel.
Sorry about that. I'm back.
Hi. Welcome back.
That was very interesting what you said, though, because I do think that we play a bigger part than we think when it comes to these AIs and us actually putting our because we're literally energy, right? So that means that that's why they put fear and stuff out there because we will suck it in and and we buy into it, and that's how they're able to get people to run out there and buy up all this water and do things and it's the end of the world. That it's like a marketing strategy too. It's crazy, but then it's like a reality that comes true too because of our energy. We're actually creating our own world in a way.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So since you're creating this, it first you gotta like just take responsibility for it, because a lot of people become the victims of it. It's the whole,
Exactly.
yeah, big, what's it called? The blame game of like victim and what's that dynamic that they call? Victimizer blame something game. Yeah, so it's not about that, right? It's about, okay, this, we put ourselves here as a collective because of the decisions that we've made and all the stuff that we have allowed from those parts of ourselves that have digressed and have decided to take over and use that control to have that energy that they can't produce themselves. So now we still have that capability. We have the power to change our reality, and we can produce our own energy. We don't need anything external. So that's where it comes in. It's like, for me, the only way out is in. You see?
Right. Right.
Yeah. Hmm.
See, so many people wouldn't even understand. Like you can tell you understand how this works, and you've been beyond this world. This controlled world. You step into you stepped. I guess what they would say the rabbit hole or something like that.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because so,
Yeah.
so many people don't even know that the power that they hold. Tony, I don't know if you know what's going on here. Still surrounded around voice and saying what we think or feel, but just like how people she was just speaking about how like with the AIs and how you could be talking, right, and you
Mm-hmm.
didn't put anything into the feed or anything, and the next thing you know, you'll find in your when you're scrolling, like she talked about her friend describing like a rabbit and the shape of it, and the next thing you know, you're scrolling. Or if I'm talking about Nikes, but I never put it in there, I'm talking to a friend, and now
Yeah.
I see ads that are talking about Nikes and in the
Right.
algorithm and all that, and I'm like, well, how do you know that? Are you listening?
Right. I mean, the AIs and the algorithms, I'm already thinking they exist, and I don't care if anybody thinks I'm crazy now, but too much is happening that's beyond coincidence.
Yeah,
Personally, that's just my expression. There's too much going on.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's only gonna get crazier, guys. So that's, I've been getting that message of like, this is just the beginning.
yeah. Oh my gosh, when I hear that, I'm like, what?
I know, right? But that's for me. It's kind of, it's more exciting than anything, because I know that as long as I'm tuning into what I like to call internal GPS, it's, we're guided and we know what we're supposed to do deep down, even though not everything is absolutely clear sometimes. But because we have a lot of things that are unknown, and we've got to be comfortable with that. But deep down, we know what's going on and we know what we're here to do.
Yeah,
And yeah, so the more we move forward in this journey, the more of these, I guess, opportunities and gifts and chances that you're going to get to actually put everything that you already know into practice. It's just, for me, it's like I'm kind of, it feels like I'm remembering things, it's like, yeah, instead of learning things, for me it's like I came here to remember. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's like things you think you're discovering, but it's something that you already know, and then you're like,
Yeah.
it's kind of like sometimes when somebody's thinking of something, and then they have that cloud over their head, they're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, because it's already happened. It's all happening all at once, really. And it's, we have access to all the timelines. For me, it's like I've, through meditation, through dreams, through visions, even just thinking about things, it's like you can access that information. And it's just right now we're focused on in this particular um space time and, reality or whatnot. But in reality, it's all there, you see. So it's that's what's
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, it's amazing how far we can go. Like I don't even want to call it the rabbit hole anymore. I call it curiosity of life and just expanding. We've been taught to just narrow in and this is the normal. And anything else you're crazy or what are you talking about, you know? And
Yeah.
I think people should. I think the more people discover and talk about, I think the more we'll see censorship when you talk about these things because they
Yeah.
want they want they don't want people to start to wonder, start to think, and because then you take the control. That control is taken away from having people think this is the reality, and you need to like if someone was to hear you can heal your own body, or when they talk about natural herbs and things like that, like you censor those things, or you make sure that that's not played on air or whatever that may be, and no one gets the
Right.
information because we don't want anyone to start to wonder more about life. Like, wait, maybe this what I've been believing hasn't been well, what is, and that's all through just hearing somebody, say something, online. Because before the internet, I think the internet has changed the way we think and the way because you can hear people's thoughts or their information or what they found out. Before
Mm-hmm.
we couldn't do that. So I think the internet actually makes these movements, the BLM, things with transgender and the gay rights. I think that is all due to the internet and hearing people's thoughts, views, and it can alter one's decisions or choices when you put those things that they never thought of out there.
Well, and I was also thinking of how, for example, shows like this one, right? It's like those are not the ones that necessarily get the most views or most participation, because what attracts the most is people, making jokes or saying things that it's just like the things that are just kind of keeping you in a state of consciousness where you're just like, oh, this is fun and easy, things that really make people think. Those are the things that are the least broadcasted, and it's all that I think it has a lot to do with the algorithms, but at the same time, it's the level of consciousness that the collective is in right now, just in general as well. What they decide to tune into. as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's both. So it's like it's really tough right now. We're living in really interesting times, and it's I do think though that there's going to be more people that will be tuning in to this kind of content more, because they will be realizing that something is off,
Yeah.
first of all, and then they'll be searching for answers. So that's what we're here for. We're here to bring in all this type of information, because yeah, right now awareness is key.
Yeah, most definitely. We all have a purpose, and we should be able. And our purpose comes through being able to speak and to talk and to share with others. And when that is taken away or shoved down or censored, it makes it hard for. First of all, it makes it hard for that to happen. Second of all, you have to ask why. Why is it being? Because when you think about it, right, they make it seem like censorship is to protect, not to pat misinformation
Mhm.
around, right? But at the same time, if that was the case, then how come we haven't been censoring music, certain stuff, you know, things when people speak out poorly or might, defamation? Like, how come that hasn't been the target? It's all of a sudden now when there's a certain agenda, oh, we have to shut this down. We can't get that off the air. Why?
Yeah. Yeah, and then the argument is, oh, it's for your safety. Well, that is a very it has been very carefully planned since a very, very long time ago, since the beginning, really. And how do you control people through their emotions and through making them think that they're safe with you? It's kind of like it's very similar to what people do when they're in a narcissistic relationship, right? It's like that narcissist will make you feel safe and like you're loved for a bit, and then all of a sudden it's all about, oh, gaslighting and being like, no, you're wrong, you know what you're saying, that's not how it is, I'm right, I'm protecting you. It's like, they come off as this like savior afterwards, like after they've gaslighted you and everything. So that's the dynamic, you know.
Yeah, very interesting too. That's an interesting topic. Narcissism. I was
Hmm.
starting to look more into that, and it just opened up a whole other door for me. And it makes you think, like, I think I might have been amongst like a narcissist before. Because that's happened to me, and when I learned more about it, I realized that. Hello, Annette. Thank you for joining. So yeah,
Hi.
it's very interesting. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, definitely. It's there's a whole psychology behind the control system and how it works, and it's like you give the person a little bit of freedom, and it's like, oh, thank you, after this whole period of like uh being controlled and in lockdown, for example, that's what happened. And then all of a sudden, oh, let's give you a little bit of freedom, and it's like, oh, that's what people have been waiting for, so they will literally accept pretty much anything that is asked of them just to get that little bit of freedom afterwards. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's a sucky way to. That's it's like if you were trying to create an evil genius, that would be like a genius. But that being said, it's so wrong, and it shows how easy the mind could be manipulated. And that if you were curious on what we were talking about here, it starts with we're talking about voice and respecting people's freedoms to be able to use their voice, even if you didn't like what they said, but just how censoring it all takes is a life of its own. How we got to where we are now, right?
right.
Just not being able to learn from one another and it being blocked away, even if we didn't like what it was, or who's to say that it's truthful or not. But what I've noticed that we either censor ourselves or we have we're slowly, I wouldn't even say slowly, our right to be able to even use our voice is being nipped away at on all sides. And people should
Mhm.
ask why. And then who's to say who's telling the truth? Is it because you wear a uniform? I noticed that
Mhm.
too. Like, you're more likely to believe somebody because of the position they hold. You're the
Mm,
president, you're a police officer, you're this. So they must be right. The media, they
yeah.
must be right. Not this person that's saying the opposite. So we must censor that person, and this is just a full circle of craziness.
There's been a whole series of studies done on the obedience, and it's the Milgram experiment. I don't know if you've heard of this one, and it's this one is about it's about obedience in general and how people tend to believe or sorry, what's it called? Obey. Sorry, a person that has a white coat or somebody that needs to be an authority. So what they did is they had these people accept to be electrocuted, like just really mild shocks, but still, it was like every time they answered a question wrong or something, they were going to be electrocuted, and they were like, yeah, okay, let's do that. They would accept because it was a person in a white coat, but when the person was not wearing a white coat, they'd be like, no, like stop doing this. This is not right. It's like
Hmm.
Oh, I remember now. Okay, so it's coming back. Actually, there's two people. There's a person who's being electrocuted, and there's another person pushing the button. So the doctor, so and so, like so-called doctor, would tell them, okay, whenever the person gets the answer wrong, you're gonna electrocute them, and they're like, okay. So they kept doing it. They kept doing it, and whenever it was a person with a white coat, they would keep doing it until the end, most of the time. And when it wasn't, it was like, no, I'm not gonna do this. They would actually say no. But yeah, that's how it works, right? It's in society, sadly, it's the people who are supposed to know what they're doing, however, have not been informed of how what is actually going on. So this is not to say, oh, all doctors are bad people and they're tricking us. No, it's more like they have also been taught lies in their life. So they're just passing it on, but thinking that they're doing a good thing.
Yeah, totally. I understand that. Like, yeah, it totally doesn't mean that they're a bad, even though there are some that, and that's why I bring it down to intentions. What are your intentions, right? Because
Hmm.
there's probably some that know what they're doing. Then there's ones that they've been taught to think this way, or
Hmm.
and they don't even know. There's someone behind pulling their strings too. Also, I find it to be scary, right? And I'm going to say this because something I want people to really think about. Because this is what I really had thought one day. I said, "Darn, if I'm in a really catastrophic life altering event, and I'm reaching out to the people, to the masses, to the world. I'm speaking through the waves, and saying, this is my story. This is what's going on. We need help." And they don't want that to be broadcasted. They want people thinking about that because maybe they don't want people to be distracted from what the narrative they have, so that my story or someone else's could bring questioning to that. And then as the people, as we listen, and because it's really about us, we act like you said, we tend to create our own world, and put energy to the things that become real because of where our energy is focused. And I started to feel like I couldn't even rely on the people, the citizens, just the people, because they wouldn't believe me, because they would believe how they colored the situation. And you're really, if that makes sense at all to you, and you're really screaming out for help.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Say for instance, someone has a story of what's going on with them, and you can't get it out. No one believes you. They're saying, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, or it's not true, or you're passing false lies. And you're like, no, I really need help, please. This is not a lie. And we tend to do that with people a lot because of the way uh, we allow our minds and to be able, and to color someone's story that could be their truth as false, as they need
Hmm.
help. And I started to not have faith in, not my system or the government, but the very people that may even create or make you know what I mean, the government. Because we are supposed to have the control. It's supposed to be there for us, and we're actually the ones that are making it hard for our fellow man, or a person to look out for them and feel safe. Or we should be focused more on finding truth, if that made sense to you at all.
Yeah, okay. So let me just repeat a little bit what you said to make sure I understood correctly. So, what you're saying is that the people that are controlling the system have, in a way, influenced other people so much that they are also reinforcing that control system because they want to obey, because they think it's good to obey the laws and the rules, and they're just it's just, to me, I'm just picturing a whole prison dynamic, as
Yeah.
like, oh, we're prisoners, and uh Yeah, literally, it's like we're in a prison planet. And and I know that sounds a little, maybe a little too far, but seriously, that's it's literally what's going on, the dynamics that's happening. It's like you've got the prison guards, and then you've got a few people that maybe have a little bit more privileges because they're always obeying, and they're, and then you've got the other ones that are just kind of like, yeah, like the whole, like, I would say, ignorant masses, really.
Right.
So yeah, that's what's going on, really.
It's still like a battle, a shift of control. No one's free
Mm.
thinking, and that's the part that scares me. I feel like I'm if I or someone else was in a situation where you're trying to reach out and tell your truth and you're looking for help, you'll get colored as, and they're going to believe the one party besides this a group of people or a person that really is in need of help, because you're like, oh
Mhm.
yeah, 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 that's false information. Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, and you're like, no. And it made me doubt
Right.
the people, not the system, but the people, because we make up the system, don't we? Really think about it.
Right.
So yeah, that's where my head is right now. I feel like, if and that's why I don't judge, and I'm not too quick, even if someone labels something as, oh, this is misinformation or this is that. I'm not going to fall into that category because I have a free mind and thinking, and I know that everything isn't what it seems. And somewhere along that line, what if you have to entertain that? Like, what if this isn't what I think it is? I can't just go off of someone else's beliefs, or I have to make sure I'm not being influenced by
Mhm.
whatever, however great you're supposed to be, and how your integrity of what you stand for, if people truly, you know what I mean? It's all about intention. But I have to allow myself to say, hey, I'm not falling for it. And that's my choice. But I have
Mhm.
to give my full, if that makes sense,
Mhm.
understanding, and make sure that I'll give you guys an example. And so there was a situation where a man, I don't want to get too in detail of it because, once again, it's one of those touchy topics, but I'm just going to go ahead and not get too into it. But this person was trying to get out a message to people. They used social media. And the things that they were talking about were very, very scary, what they were experiencing. And I
Mhm.
was like, well, I'm pretty sure I'm not there's other people that have gotten this message too, right? And then I started to humanize and put myself in that situation. I said, well, what if that was me? What would I do? What if that was me? And so what I did was I shared it with a friend of mine, someone that actually deals with stuff like this and has a platform. And I said, what do you think? And so they went about going, looking into it. Long story short, they were censored. And then later on down the road, it was somehow publicized and those things were really happening, right? And so, what if no one paid any attention to this person and didn't look and give them any help at all whatsoever? Because usually these things here aren't true, or you'll just find yourself
Mhm.
believing who the whatever party is trying to get you to believe or not believe.
Yeah.
If that
May
makes
I ask what was happening to the person? Or you don't have to share, but like, I'm just curious.
it was based around what was going on with them in incarcerated. They were incarcerated,
Mhm.
and so they
Mhm.
needed help
Okay.
from somebody from the outside just to look into their situation, and they were reaching out to like people that could just like please check on me,
Oh.
type of stuff, right? And I just took it. I didn't do much. I just said, hey, you want to check this out and see, what do you think, right? Because I didn't
Mhm.
know, but I just know something came over me and just said, what if it was you?
All
What if
right.
you were in a situation where you needed help and you were trying to get someone to please? And we have to really think about that, because those that's a real life situation. Wouldn't we have to be empathetic to that, because what if you were, I think that's a lot of what empathy is understanding, what if you were in the shoes of someone that was reaching out and needing someone to help you, and you were using your voice,
I agree to that.
to get that, and no one listened. They doubted you.
I apologize for being distant. My son's mom came to pick him up and me. I was talking for a minute, so my bad, ladies.
Oh, no problem at all. It's just something, I mean, where it started at, EXO, where we both went with it. It all plays a part, of respecting and allowing people to have a voice and to use it, and because no one should feel like they can't. Some people willingly cut their voices off in situations where a person won't speak about a crime or something that happened to them, a rape or things like that, because you've been, people will make you feel like it's your fault or shame you.
Mhm.
And so we all are responsible, also too, of how we respond or react when someone is stating their, using their voice to speak up on something.
Yeah, I see what you mean. And, like, it's like, yeah, helping each other, and that's when people should unite, instead of uniting to defend something that actually doesn't make any sense just because you feel like you need to follow the rules. But then, when it comes to situations that are very yeah, that are, I guess, could even be called like you said, like conspiracy theories or things like that. For example, child trafficking is one that I'm thinking about right now. It's a really big issue in our planet, but for some people, it just doesn't seem important. And there are way more children that are kidnapped every single day, more than the numbers that they were, I'm going to say, promoting for the people that got contaminated by the virus, for example.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. Where's the attention going, really, right?
Yeah.
What's more important? So
Very
yeah,
true. It's where we put our energy, right? But when you bring up what you brought up now with the trafficking, that's something that, like, you would think that it's just not bothering people, and sometimes it's like I learned that people don't aren't really triggered by anything until it hits close to home.
right.
Agreed.
And somebody else's child that I never met is that's still important. That's still, like, I don't know. I can empathize with that. It doesn't have to. I don't have to know them or have experience for me to not. Why am I putting my focus on Jada and Will so intensely versus child trafficking?
Mhm.
Why do I feel the need to shame Jada or dig up in her marriage and why she's wrong and why Will Smith is wrong for slapping? I get it, it's a conversation, but damn.
I know, right?
There's
It
other
is
That's
things
so
what
out
I've
here
been
going on.
feeling the whole time, like last week or so, and I was like, no, like 2 weeks ago, I forget when it was, but yeah, everybody was talking just about that. And now it's Johnny Depp. I get
Right,
it. It's people's lives too, of course. But again, there's way more important things. Let those people deal with their situation in
right.
private. This is also a private life that people are just wanting to peek into, and talk about it, gossip about it. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
And we're
Hmm.
putting all that energy, like you said earlier, that where we focus all our energy. And I noticed that people just couldn't stop talking about it. And I was just like, why aren't we like this with things like, like with children and those topics versus these celebrities? Yes, that is their lives, but it's not
But it should
important
be
enough.
private, and I'm pretty sure they're uncomfortable with it being
Yeah,
so public too. Like, why is it being broadcasted? It's like,
exactly.
like what? That's where the TV. It's like people are just absorbed by television, and they a lot of people are going to be like, well, whatever is on TV it's true. If it's not on TV, then it must not be true.
Exactly. I didn't hear it on the news, so it can't be true.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Yeah. It makes for a bigger topic. Like,
Right.
I didn't know that it was going to open so many windows, right now when I thought of, this to be the conversation. But as, like you said, it strikes up a lot of questions. And if you, Daniela, you just got here, and Annette, I really just wanted people to think about the power of voice, the freedom of voice, and who's to say, are we really respecting one another's voice, even if we don't appreciate or agree with what they're saying? When do we make it okay to tell somebody silence or to shut them down? Because I'm seeing that the censorship and just how people are just being their whole being, your voice. If you can't speak out, and there's a lot of countries where they can't. So here in the United States, we have this amazing opportunity in this, and you would think, why would it have to be an opportunity? Everyone should have a voice. We were given one. Why can't we use it? Even someone that doesn't literally have a voice, like someone that you know, uh, you know, someone that maybe have a disability where they don't, they're not used, but they have a voice through sign language, right? That's still a voice, right? So that's still, and that counts too. When you rip away someone's freedom of speech or voice, that includes someone that doesn't literally speak, but they use sign language. Because that's a way of communicating. You're shutting that down too. Also, so it affects all of us. And who's to that was given to us. We were given these voices and communication skills for a reason. How do you let someone know how you feel, how you think, And when you tell them they're not important or is less than or is not valid, that takes away of self from someone of who they are.
Yes, absolutely. And like you said before, I'm just thinking about the part where you said, and then we censor ourselves, and that's what's going on. Really, it's like, and not sometimes inadvertently because we think that we should be obeying the rules or the law, um, and that's a part of it. It's like, yeah, so we have all this freedom of speech, but people don't want to speak up because they feel like it's their voice isn't really needed right now. So we're indirectly being censored, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Or you feel like you'll get canceled or you're going to offend someone. And is that
Right.
really what we should be basing it off of? Because if we're truly listening when people speak, we should be able to tell if it's offensive or not. It's all about, we have to be able to listen. And if you don't want to, then you know where the door is. You
Right.
know? So, yeah, this
Yeah.
does open the window to a lot of different topics.
True. So true. And but yeah, it's great that you're encouraging people to speak and to use and to be, because it does take courage, and when I read the topic, it's like, oh yeah, voices of courage. So it does take courage to speak up, to speak your truth. And honestly, the more I've done this, because before I wouldn't do it, like I told you, when you invited me up, that was the first thing that came to me. I was like, yeah, before I wouldn't really speak my truth. I was always afraid that I would be abandoned by my friends, or but the truth is, the more you speak, and the more you say your truth, the more you will align with people that are meant to really be in your life, and
Yeah,
there are people that will resonate with what you have to say. So yeah, don't ever be afraid to say it, right?
yeah, exactly. And you'll encourage one another.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why I love Voices of Courage. Yeah,
That's awesome.
yes.
So
I want to thank you.
I'm gonna get going because it's really late over here. It's actually already 2 a.m.
Oh
over
goodness. I want to thank you for joining us. I do appreciate you participating
here.
and using your voice and speaking, your thoughts and your truth.
Thank you so much, Brandy and Tony.
You said
And
it's 2 a.m. where you are? Good Lord.
I know, right? You should be snoring already.
Right, right,
I
right.
know, I know, I know. I just today, you guys know there's an eclipse going on tonight, so the energies feel kind of intense for me. I'm just really tuning into those energies right now. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm not sleeping right now, but I definitely want to start winding down and like kind of like just relaxing and yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for
Trying to-
joining.
Thank you guys. I'll see you again soon.
Good to meet you, man.
Next
Good
week.
to
Bye,
meet
hon.
I'm gonna
And I
drop down,
know.
lady. I put in for about an hour. I gotta get ready.
Yeah, yeah. It's time to shut down. I kind of went 1 minute over. This is my second show, guys. Trust me, I'll have it wound down to the T next time. Promise. But thank you. Thank you so much, Tony.
No problem. Anytime. Let me know.
All right, most definitely. Have a good night.
Everybody take care. Good meeting y'all and be good.
And for the rest of you all, thank you for tuning in. If you didn't get all of it, please go back and listen again. And just to have those questions in the back of your head of about how, well, you see it right here. Are we respectively, are people are we respectively giving people the chance to have a voice? Are we respecting it? And who's to say whose voice can get canceled? And everybody's thoughts and views, opinions are valid, even if we don't agree with them. But it really just comes down to actually promoting and nurturing people to just speak up and say what they feel, because we'll never know if we don't. Well, thank you so, so much, guys. And until next time, this is Voices of Courage right here on Fireside with your host, Brandy J.